Hello and welcome back to THU TV. Very excited to have you guys back here. It's been going really well so far. My name is Christopher Nichols. I am doing a series of talks this week on the bridge between creativity and technology. And I'd love to hear your feedback, so please make sure and leave comments and let us know what you think. I want to hear more about it. I also want to remind people, I've been reminding it every session here, that we should go ahead and go check out THU TV, the video on demand section. Then that's just go to trojan-unicorn.com/TV, and it's a great package. You'll be able to get all the talks that are going on here that they're permitted to show, and you'll be able to get that. So it's a really good content. Okay, I am here with two great guys. I'm here with Lip and Carlos, and I've actually known both of you guys because you guys are both veterans of THU, right? So we've been here for a while. So let's go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Well, I'm Lip.
You're Lip.
Good to be here. I'm an animation director at Passion London. And I couldn't see a year without THU really, because it culminates always with this fest of inspiration and fun.
Right.
And sea and jacuzzi, and
right.
It's kind of good.
Yeah, it's a really great thing. And what about you, Carlos?
My name is Carlos. I'm from Mexico. I'm a CG artist, more focused on character creation for animation, cinematics, illustration, advertising. So.
Yeah, I've seen your work. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, the beautiful character work that you've done, and very stylized and really nice.
Thank
and you were a speaker last year, is that correct?
Yes, I was here last year as a speaker, but just like Lip, I wanted to repeat the experience in THU because last year was I was fulfilled with a lot of motivation and inspiration after the event, so just wanted to repeat that feeling again.
I know it's amazing how many people are speakers that come back as attendees.
Yes.
There's a lot of them. Like, it's like, nope, even if I'm not a speaker, I'm still coming back, right?
I'm just a warrior this year.
Yeah, you're just a warrior. Well, not just a warrior, you'll always be a knight, right? In some ways. But I think it's really cool. So I've got a couple things I want to talk about. Actually, Lip, you and I had this conversation earlier this week when you came up to me. It's like, you remember, it was, and this is a kind of conversation, just so the people know, it's not necessarily on the subject that we're talking about, but this is the kind of conversation that only THU could have, right?
I think so, yeah.
Right? So last year, you asked a very, very hard personal question at the end of a lecture to try to get some feedback about something. And I believe that question was about you having a tremendous relationship issue that's related to your art and social media, and how it was a struggle for you to be able to deal with that. So can you tell a little bit about that conversation?
Yeah, well that was really important, that moment, because I believe it was an acting teacher in the speech.
Yes, it was David Lee Strasberg, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so as soon as he tried to is there any questions? I know how you that know how to act and know relationship between artists. I asked him, can two equally ambitious artists have a successful marriage, so to speak? Right.
No, you asked that. It was, no one would ever think that question would come up at a conference, but that was amazing.
Well, I thought, if not here, where could that happen?
Right.
Where could be the answer? And immediately, you and other people experienced in that sort of human interaction came up to me and just give me their thoughts.
Right.
And I believe it got me what I needed to hear, and here I am. It worked out.
Okay, I'm glad it worked out, but I thought it was incredible that you felt the safety to open up with that kind of question, and two, everyone seemed like a lot of people just came up to you, right? And like, we're going to help this guy. We'll see what we can do. And only a place like THU could do that, right? So I think it was such a beautiful story. And then I love the fact that you and I come back the next year.
Yes.
And then I'm sitting there chatting, and he's like, you remember me? You talked to me last year. And I was like, oh shit, that's the guy. I've actually told your story to people, not you specific, but just that there was someone there, and he tossed that question. I was like, wow, and I said, yeah, that's such an impressive thing. Only THU could bring that up.
Yeah.
So I think it was really an amazing thing. So I'm glad we're back, and I'm even glad you're on this talk. But let's move on a little bit. Carlos, your THU last year,
Yes.
can you tell me a little bit about some of the things that you were talking about and like some of the things that you feel helped some of the THU tribe?
Well, last year, it was really weird how things happened last year for me to be here because
Okay, tell me about that.
because I have a really weird year, lack of motivation, lack of inspiration.
Really?
I didn't want to keep doing 3D actually. I was like really depressed. And somebody recommended me to come to this event. They told me you should look for more art events to get some inspiration, to be with more people that does the same thing that you. And I looked for tickets for the event and they were sold out already.
Oh, wow.
A couple of weeks later, Andre wrote me, inviting me to the event. So that was like everything connected at the same time. Yes,
Yeah.
but at the first, I think I thought twice to reject the invitation actually because I wasn't feeling like I was able to provide anybody with anything.
Right.
So I decided to come because somebody told me, well, don't do it for you, do it for your past self.
Right.
Because he's the one who has already been working and the one that got invited. So
Right.
I came here. Was really really fun. I got a lot of inspiration, meeting a lot of people that I admire for many years, and I left Portugal really inspired. Wanted to keep creating, wanting to do things again.
Yeah.
So really happy. So that's why I'm here again, trying to repeat the experience.
And so did you feel that THU helped reinvigorate you in some ways to continue doing the things, or were you able to change your focus in the right way, or what do you think happened?
Yes, because I noticed that there were a lot of. I had the chance to speak with other speakers, and they were all in kind of the same situation actually. Lots of them were like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I've been depressed for almost a year. I've been out of motivation. It was really weird, but it was really. I was identifying myself with the people I admired. So
Right.
in that plane, I was feeling like, it sounds a little cliche, but I was feeling at home here in this place.
You're feeling not alone.
Yes, because at least
And people understand you.
yes, at least in Mexico, is the feeling is that I don't meet a lot of people who do the same thing that I do.
Right.
So being here with unknown people that at least understand you at that level was really inspiring for me. So it took about 2 or 3 days to meet with people here, to speak with other artists, to get my batteries recharged and say, oh, everybody's doing what they love and they are making a living out of that. So you have that chance. So keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right track. This is just a bump. So keep moving forward. So
Okay, great.
I did that, and everything went okay, I think so.
Great. And then you said you're an animation director, right?
Yes.
And so where did you say you were working again? I'm sorry.
Passion.
Passion. Okay. And what exactly do you do there? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, how it works is that Passion has different compartments. Which one is TV and animation? One is commercials. I'm on the commercial side.
Oh, okay.
Animated commercials.
Uh-huh.
I used to have my own company of providing animated content, and now I made it to the big gamers,
Right.
or at least, I'm fairly happy. What I do is working with a very, very talented team in-house in London, where they would produce all those scripts, and I would work with them and try to get the best out of it.
And how long have you been there?
I signed recently, so it's a couple of months.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah, I'm fairly new. I used to be at the Mill.
At the Mill in London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's Passion.
Yeah. Well, they're both great companies, so that's really cool.
Yes. I'm very flattered they took a chance on me.
Well, I'm sure. Well, you see, you guys have the same problem, right? You're too humble and you think you're not worth it. I deal with it too, so I am very sympathetic. I was like, well, I don't know why, anyone want to listen to me.
Time will see.
Time will see. But, okay, so we want to talk a little bit about technology. And I know you guys don't really think that much about the technology, neither of you, which is kind of the subject that we want to cover. So what do you think has happened over the years that enables you to focus more on the creative part of what you do and let the technology sort of stay in the background? Yeah, any one of you.
Well, I have a very simplistic answer probably. I think technology helps me, one, to get those shortcuts,
Right.
to don't get run over by boundaries. So I want to convey what I wanted to convey.
Right.
And if technology just helps me be faster and more efficient, then I will adopt that software. I will just open that new way of handling
Right.
the boarding, the blocking in, or all sort of things. And on the other side, it randomizes the approach. A new software would just change the game in a sense that I have to think differently. And
Right.
sometimes new ideas, new way of handling your thought emerge.
So you think that sometimes the technology enables a different thought process?
It forces you to.
It forces you to do that.
Yeah, and if I had to be specific, if I had to go in VR now, if I use this new technology, I feel in a room, I would quickly draw, and from there make new associations,
Right.
new thoughts, new ideas, because I can be somewhere else. And usually or historically, I was on paper,
Right.
and there is a completely other perception.
Right.
So technology helps me be in another place.
Yeah. And you did start as a much more traditional artist.
Well, I come more from as a visual development drawing
Got it.
background, so I'm very visual, and new technology can make me more abstract.
Right.
So I'm very always interested to see where shortcuts can come to be faster or just new, just randomize the process.
Right. What about you, Carlos? How do you think that technology sort of helped or enabled some of the things you were doing?
Well, I even experienced this in the sense that I haven't had to think in technology, in the technical side,
Right.
in many years.
What do you think caused that? What do you think enabled that?
That the technology at the level and hardware level has been getting better, getting more ergonomic, for to say in that way, in the fact that you just focus more on creating, but it's not that I don't think in technology. I always try to stay up to date with software, with new techniques, new tips, new shortcuts,
Right.
Improving my workflow. But all this advance gives me a lot of free time to focus more on the creative side. And that has been really important because when I first was starting, I was more worried about getting the right software, getting the right computer, getting this and that. And now I've been more focused on
Just making.
make it, yes.
Right.
And it has been evolving in a really good way, I think so.
Yeah, because I remember, when I started in the visual effects industry, long ago, that wasn't the case, right? And we were using SGIs, and you had to use Wavefront or Alias or whatever, and I'm like,
Yeah.
You had to be a technician to do that, which sort of really makes it much harder to do creative things, right? Unless you're a genius like Spaz Williams, right, who can go out there and create crazy stuff using very, very primitive software, it's very hard. But I think the tools have become more intuitive and
Yes.
more much better. And I think one of the things that I really like about it is the idea of just the user experience, right?
Yeah.
User experience has become such a focus for a long time to sort of really simplify the process, really simplify everything you're doing, that you don't even think about it anymore. It just becomes a background and you just create anymore. Do you think that there are certain trends that you guys are seeing that are helping that?
Well, if I had a wish, I think the more those softwares move into a mobile fashion, like a mobile package.
Oh, okay.
The usability would even be more accessible. The focus on easy handling would be more increased.
Right.
So I think the more those softwares or those technologies wander into your tablet or whatever whatever device will be accessible, the more it needs to be immediate and maybe use your hands instead of your mouse before you had to all those valves. So the trend could go into user experience because the devices focus on user experience.
That's true. That's true. I think you're right that mobile platforms completely redesigned the idea of how you use software. Right?
Exactly.
They had to, and you do see some photo editing apps and some painting apps that happen, and they're just point and click and do things, right? But you're thinking you can go all the way to full 3D applications that operate that way, right?
If technology provides us with the performance, which it will,
right?
I don't see there any way it's not going to happen.
Well, the performance, I think what the performance could come from would be from cloud computing, right? Because what's nice about the idea is that you could do that, and I'm just thinking out loud, but if you like the interface of the tablet because the tablet itself provides you the tactile nature that you want, but you're worried that your tablet doesn't have the horsepower to actually do the bigger things, you could still do that by having that horsepower virtualized on the cloud.
Right.
And so you can just basically say, make me one of the most powerful computers in the world and just give me a window on my tablet with a nice interface and it'll work, which I think it can happen. Honestly, I really know it can happen because I've seen it happen. We were doing an experiment for my company where we went to the Google Cloud and we were rendering some, it was actually with Google actually, but they used some stuff that I've been working on, and they did a demo on it, and they rendered it nearly in real time. It was a full CG character in real time, ray traced, and they did it at, using 128 GPUs virtualized, and it was very detailed digital human, and it was pretty interesting because not only that, but the thing that they were running it all on was a Chromebook.
Right.
Right? Because the Chromebook was virtualizing everything, and then it was just spreading it out, and the cloud can do it. Now, of course, you just pay money for that, for that cloud compute time, but if you only need it for 10 minutes, it's not that expensive if you think about it. So I think it'd be interesting to think about people like you guys who's like, because I think that's what you guys want. You want a lot of horsepower, but really simple, right?
Yes. Yeah, if it's easy to use, nobody would argue it's a bad thing.
Right, and feedback too. You want quick feedback. You want renderings to go really quickly. You want it to look as good as possible. What other trends do you think you would like to see in technology? I like the idea of your tablet, by the way. That's making everything work on a tablet in some ways. What other trends do you think, Carlos?
I think the mobile part is really important, and being intuitive and being easier to use. On the technical side, I think that it's still very important to know the technical part of what you are doing, because one thing I've been seeing lately with a lot of new artists, aspiring artists, is that they don't want to learn what is happening behind the screen. They just want to make a click and see things happen. So
they want to push the F5 button and they have a beautiful project, right?
yes. And I mean, that would be wonderful if
but you can't,
Yes, that would be wonderful if you know what's happening behind.
Right.
But I've seen a lot of people just that want that, and I learned how to deal with the technical part. Every time I had a problem, was like stop everything and see what's happening behind, start to see what's happening behind the curtain.
Right.
And I think that's still really important, and it's one thing that I think it's being missed in some of the new software and hardware, because things are getting
They're
easier.
trying to hide too much, you think?
Yes. Things, for example, I don't know, I started rendering with Mentor Ray, I remember. And it is, in Maya, it's like you have all the software disassembled. You need to start building nodes to have something. now I use Arnold, for example, and you have everything. You just plug the material, make render, and you have something beautiful.
Right.
It's really awesome, but I think the technical part is still important because you know what's happening when you hit the render button.
Right.
So being easier, the software I think is really good, but I don't think.
It's interesting you say that because, you know, there is, I can bring this up because
Yes.
I work for Chaos Group and I do use V-Ray, but both Arnold and V-Ray, or actually more
Yes.
specifically, both Vlado and Marcos won a technical Oscar this year for their software, right? And they were described as one of being the Swiss Army knife, being V-Ray, and the other one being the katana blade, right?
Yes.
So the fact is, you can do a lot of different things if you can do a lot of different, one really good task in this one, right?
Yes.
Which is very useful, but if you need to open a bottle of wine, you can't really use the katana blade for that, right? So there is a lot of different things that are going on, which is interesting. And it's funny that you bring that up, because the analogy I would use, if you wanted to have a conversation with an artist about it, if you go back to the Dutch masters, we'll say, who did these incredible photorealistic paintings, right? They were incredible. Those guys would mix their own paints. Very specifically, they were chemists as well as artists. So they knew the technology they needed to get those incredible rich colors. They knew that's what made them so good, is like, my colors are better than his color, or renderings, right? Because they made the chemistry to make that thing happen. So I think that technology is important to me, and it's not something that the old guys didn't do. It's not just because it's a computer does that mean that it's technology, right? So I think it's really interesting. So let's, real quick, we're getting kind of towards the end. What are you guys looking forward to at THU this year, besides just the magic happening?
Well, I was very pleased to have a little bit of management, production,
Yes.
B-side things.
The B-side's cool, right?
Because imagery or processes that get shown, which are important, talks are great, but it is easier to see something online on those lines. But you wouldn't get people really opening their heart about the struggles in business. And I believe it's so important to be your own strong businessman, have clear structure in your leadership, or not leadership, but structure in those B-sides.
Right.
And I will follow them very, very closely.
Have you been to any of them today, or not yet?
Today I couldn't do it. Tomorrow it's gonna be.
I know it's hard because, like, oh, this one's talking about this, but then there's this artist here talking about this other cool thing.
Yes, but I will force myself because, yeah, it will happen.
Okay. And what about you, Carlos?
Well, the same thing. It's a lot of things going on at the same time.
Right.
So you need to sacrifice it. And I mean, it's awesome because you can watch it on THU TV later,
Right.
but having the experience, the live experience, is very, very different. It's more emotional, no matter the talk that you are.
Right. I do. It does make me feel less guilty or sad that I'm missing something. No, it's like, I can watch it later on
Yes.
THU TV. But don't use that as an excuse not to go to a talk and just
Exactly,
sleep in your
yes.
hotel room, which
That's for
people
sure.
shouldn't do.
Yes, because you are here, so you
Yeah.
need to take the chance to.
And it's your chance to ask questions, right?
Yes.
And feel the room.
And feel the room. Yeah.
That's important.
But this is another thing I love about THU. People really asks questions, so it's great. All right, cool. We're going to wrap it up. Thanks so much for joining us, guys.
Thank you for the
Thanks.
invitation.